hello, and what is going on, everybody? It is Master of the TDS, and I am joined by my lovely wife,
WritingRaven.
And we're back for another episode of Psycho-Synopsis.
Indeed.
The segment where we summarize all the Psycho for you. Just a scattering of topics throughout the week, all summarized into one neat little package for you to enjoy and consume at your leisure.
You're welcome.
So, we're running a little bit later than we normally would because we had some noisy neighbors, but we have some decent topics to discuss even with the writer's strike going on.
Mm-hmm. Part of it has to do with the writer's strike, so without further ado, let us bring in our first client, artificial intelligence.
Multiple studios and streamers have been planning to use AI to generate scripts based on books and other IP that is in the public domain, with lists of titles making the rounds among development executives.
Why do I feel like I am now an endangered species?
I hear what you're saying, and I also can see what the other side's saying, but here's what I think. I think that using AI to generate ideas for stories is a great idea. I think using it for script writing is going to put a lot of people out of work, and again, I get the convenience of it, and I understand why people would be interested. But at the same time, I feel like we cannot rely on artificial intelligence because we've had so many stories of how bad that can be. We want stories that are good, and I'm not saying the AI can't do that.
But they can't write with soul because they don't have souls.
Exactly. They can't get the same feeling. They can take what people want and put it into a script, and maybe they'll hire people to edit said script.
Like, when Master reads over my work, he can easily tell how much passion I put behind the writing. Same with a lot of other things he reads. If he finds that a book isn't written with passion, he doesn't read it.
That, and also it depends on the kind of book. But to be fair, I like knowing that there's a person behind it, and I can usually feel what they're putting into their work. You know if somebody's written a book or a script and didn't care, especially these days.
Oh, yes.
Now, with AI, does that mean we're going to get more of those scripts? I don't know. We actually might get better scripts for all we know.
Yes, but they'll still be soulless.
Maybe.
Which is why I'm very glad to be part of the Epicverse.
Yeah, we are part of the Epicverse. If you have not checked out the Epicverse, you should do so. We are creating some indie movies over there, and we have some good stuff coming up there. We're not going to be able to tell you about it now, but we are doing that, so keep an eye out.
We're saving the movie industry. You're welcome! What?
More or less. Regardless, I think this can be a very big boon, but it can also be a very big detriment. So I'm hoping that it's used in the correct way. I'm not sad to see certain writers who obviously care more about diversity and inclusion and all this garbage and don't actually write good stories. I'm not upset to see them leaving.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
I am upset to see people who are passionate and the few people who are going to get, pushed out of jobs who did care and should be behind the wheel on certain projects that maybe never got the chance, and now because of this maybe never will.
Skynet is coming. Beware. AI is taking over the world and we're all gonna die.
On that cheery note. You done now?
Sure. Hey, don't look at me like that.
Don't worry, at least you have a soul unlike AI.
That's true. As black as it may be.
I was just about to say that.
Alright, moving on. And next up we have the Rings of Power.
Hello?
Echo.
Amazon Prime's Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power TV series is set to finish filming Season 2 amid the writer's strike without showrunners on set.
And without writers on set.
Well, I want to clarify why this is. So, there are certain rules about writer's strike, and you can actually get fined if you're part of the Writers Guild. You can get fined if you go ahead and do stuff. So, for example, having the showrunners on the set would violate the striking guidelines, and they might actually get fined for it.
Yes, but the interesting thing is, without them there, the show might actually end up somewhat decent.
Let's be fair. I don't think it's going to be.
Probably not, but it has a better chance without crappy showrunners.
It does, actually, which is kind of funny. Now, will that make it better? That's, as my wife just said, maybe. Will it make it worse? I mean, let's face it, at this point, the show was kind of terrible, and I don't really think they're going to get as much big of a turnout as they did for the first season, regardless of what they do, whether they have new showrunners or not.
Yeah, because they've already destroyed just about everything.
But a lot of places are pushing forward with certain projects. Now, a lot of them have stopped because of the writer's strike, but the ones that are continuing forward are doing so under like these handicap things to kind of avoid having to get, the people in charge in trouble with the Writers Guild. But I think that this will be interesting to see how it affects things, because I remember the first writer's strike and how one of my favorite TV shows, the first season was incredible.
Heroes. Master introduced it to me earlier on in our marriage, and holy crap, is it a good first season.
Going forward from that, because of the writer's strike, season 2 was shortened, and things that they had planned to do were changed, and the show was not awful, but it went on a downward trajectory, which ended with it being rebooted for Heroes Reborn, which was even worse, but that was years later.
Wasn't The Cape also canceled because of the strike?
I believe so. There are a lot of good shows that got canceled because of the writer's strike. Now, we're going to see a lot of different cancellations because of this, but we're also going to see a drop in quality, I believe.
What quality? There is hardly any left.
I meant what little is left, is there, but we're about to see what little quality is left of the film industry go down to zero.
I think you mean the negatives.
No, zero, because there was some. There are some decent movies, like, for example, the Mario movie, and I've heard Renfield's pretty good.
Yeah, we'll be watching Renfield tonight. Let us know if you want us to review that, because a lot of you probably will.
It'll be interesting to see how this turns out, but I think it will be more interesting to see the widespread effects of this writer's strike and what, makes it through unscathed and what comes through a bit mauled and what never makes it through at all.
Honestly, I don't even understand why there is a writer's strike. They get paid more figures than we will probably ever see, and they're not even that good at their jobs.
It's because they're a union, and because that they believe that they deserve to be paid more, and for certain things they do.
Well, it's true. A lot of screenwriters get paid hardly anything, especially compared to the actors.
Whether you think they need to be paid more or not, let's just say it'll be interesting to see how this plays out going forward. But for now, I think it's interesting that they're going forward without the showrunners. Will it make it better or not?
Don't know. But here's my take on the writer's strike. You want to get paid more? Do better at your job. The end.
Wise words, but ones they will probably not take under consideration.
I know, but I'm just saying that would solve everything. And I am not wrong.
Or Hollywood to burn to the ground. In Minecraft, mind you.
Moving on. And again in the writer's strike, we now have Jenna Ortega.
Without writers, Jenna Ortega will have nothing to punch up.
So you admit that the writing is trash?
Wednesday lead actor Jenna Ortega becomes the butt of jokes for scribes behind the picket line during the ongoing Writers Guild of America strike.
Well, she is one of the only reasons the show is actually good, despite some of the bad writing.
Now, for those people who aren't filled in, there's a video on our channel that I'll try to link below, or you can go check out about Jenna Ortega that explains more of this. But to summarize, Jenna Ortega came out in a podcast and mentioned how she had vetoed certain lines from Wednesday and changed certain things to make it fit more with the character.
Which actually gave me some more respect for her, because it showed that she understood the character.
And given some of the examples that she gave, she definitely made changes that made more sense.
Oh, absolutely, and that made the show better.
Now, as far as Wednesday goes, we will be getting back to that at some point in the future. Maybe when Season 2 comes out, we'll be finishing up Season 1. We just don't have the time right now with all the stuff we're doing.
Or the brain power, because the episode we're up to in the reviews is the most boring of them all. Literally nothing happens.
True. But when it comes to Jenna Ortega, I think that she's one of the people in the movie industry right now. Now, there's definitely things that she's done that I'm not a fan of, but I think that actors and actresses who care about the people they're playing or the roles they're playing should be able to make some creative changes. This is the same thing that happened with Henry Cavill for making changes to Geralt in The Witcher.
Exactly.
Now, do I think that Jenna Ortega's the most amazing person ever? No. There are definitely things that she's done, and I don't think the show is amazing. I think it's okay.
Yes. It's not the best thing ever, but it's also not the worst thing ever. Our opinion on it is somewhere in between.
Yeah, and so, again, if you like the show, that's great. If you don't like it, fine. If you don't like Jenna Ortega, that's fine too. But I do believe that she should not be continued to be like made an object of ridicule because she did your jobs better. She's now an executive producer on season 2. There's a reason.
Because she literally did your job better.
Yes, so how about instead of making fun of her and getting mad, now you can argue the way she came about it and said it could have been nicer, and that's fair. But making her like the butt of jokes and whatever is not funny, not nice, and not helpful. This image exemplifies why you guys are striking. Because you're not getting paid, because this is the kind of stuff you spend your time doing, rather than actually making good products.
Exactly as I said. If you want to get paid more, do your job better.
Nobody who's not on Twitter or connected to online discussions knows anything about this, because people have other things to do. If you do, that means you are probably spending more time online than you were actually doing your work, and look where it got you.
Like Dan Slott?
Let's not even go there. Dan Slott hates me.
Fair enough.
And it's okay. It's mutual. Regardless, we'll have to see how Wednesday does in season 2, and we'll get back to reviewing it at some point. But this sign right here exemplifies everything wrong with the writer's strike. There are some things that are good about it, and some things that I'm, pro, and I think that they deserve to get paid more, especially if they're putting in money. But not this. Not for this. If this is what your brilliant idea was to put on a sign, then you spent way too much time online, and maybe you should spend less time on Twitter and more time actually doing your actual jobs. Because then maybe you wouldn't be in this state to begin with.
What he said. Moving on. And speaking of horrible writing, next we have Whoopi Goldberg for some reason.
Whoopi Goldberg has teamed up with Dark Horse Comics to produce a superhero graphic novel, The Change, which features a self-insert character of Whoopi whose powers get triggered by menopause.
Why?
Now, a lot of people were making comparisons for this to the Mom of Madness comic that was made by
Emilia Clarke, I believe it was, otherwise known as Daenerys from Game of Thrones, in which the single mom main character gets her powers from her monthly cycle.
Yeah, including growing arm hair and swinging from her armpits. Like, yes, this is an actual thing.
The whole thing was so disgusting and really made me embarrassed to be a woman.
And this is another thing. Now, you can see it's clearly Whoopi.
Uh-huh.
Now, do I think that she shouldn't be allowed to make comics or whatever? No. Do I think that this is a good direction for them to take comics? No. Do I think that this is a terrible idea that couldn't be pulled off with competent writing? No. I think that actually it could be pulled off in a correct way.
Yes.
But given the fact that it's Whoopi Goldberg, and given the fact that it's current day, comics, there is no hope for this.
Absolutely not.
Now, maybe it'll do well. Maybe we'll be eating our words. But I'm sorry, when I hear that, I'm wondering who you're appealing to. Because it's an older, less young superhero. And not saying that you can't have older superheroes and superheroines. But when that's how they get their powers, it's just a bit strange.
Yeah, seriously, Goldberg, no one needs to know what your body is doing right now.
That, and also, Whoopi has come out and said a lot of different things that she should not be saying. Now, we're not going to go into that, because that goes into more political topics. But I think that she should spend more time maybe thinking over what she's going to say versus making comics like this. We'll have to see if it does well. It might just be a curiosity piece, just like Mom of Madness. But I don't understand where we're getting a lot of these heroes, and if this is supposed to be empowering... I'll be fair. I'm not a 40-year-old woman who's going through menopause. So I don't know if it's something that empowers me. But I'm pretty sure if I were to ask any woman in that age range, this is not empowering.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It's embarrassing.
Very. Just like that other comic that made me embarrassed to be female.
And again, keep in mind, we're not that old, and we're not people they're obviously marketing to, so there could be differences.
Yeah, we're still in our 20s.
Yeah, so we're just giving our opinions on it. If you are in your 40s and it appeals to you, let us know why in the comments below. We'll be open to hear both sides of the argument, and if you want to get this comic, that's totally fine. We just think that this is not the direction that they should be going with comics, and that getting, mainstream celebrities, I'm using air quotes if you can't see, to make comics doesn't always work. It does when people like Keanu Reeves are behind it, but not these kind of people.
No.
Put it this way, if the show that you're on can't maintain a steady viewership number and it keeps declining, expect that same number to buy the comic, maybe.
People still watch The View? I didn't even know what that was until earlier this year.
I didn't even know it was still on until earlier this year. Anyway.
Let us move on. And next up, we have a certain A.H. initials.
Now leaving Hollywood. A.H. has quit Hollywood after J.D. battle and fled to Madrid, Spain with her young daughter.
Bye!
So, the reason we're not saying the full name is because YouTube is very particular about these names being used, so we're being careful. But you guys know of the big case with JD and AH. If you guys have been living under a rock, you may not know, but most people do.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that it was found out that AH, everything she claimed was actually not true, and they ruled in favor of Johnny, and
she's basically lost everything.
Now, she's tried multiple times with some money that she's got from somewhere to get back in the limelight. Instead, she should have done this from the get-go.
Yeah, laid low for a couple of years and let it wander off into the distance where people wouldn't care anymore.
Now, the people who speak for her said that basically that she might come back to Hollywood if there's a right project, but honestly, by the time she comes back, she's gonna be an old woman.
True, she's almost 40, I believe.
And again, not knocking on people who are 40, simply saying the facts.
Yes. I also am one of those people who believe that the daughter is not real. Seriously, yeah. Show me one picture of the child's face. There is none.
Yes, honey, I understand. I do think the child is real. I think that AH is not a good mother, and therefore that we're not seeing the actual child.
I think we're not seeing the actual child because it's actually a doll. There are no videos of this child. There are no pictures of the child's face. She was never pregnant to begin with.
Because it was a surrogate.
Yes, but you never heard about the surrogate when it got pregnant.
Look, I don't know. I think it's a strange situation overall, but regardless, nobody's going to cry to see you leave. Apparently, she also dumped her girlfriend, Eve Barlow, who left Twitter because of Elon Musk, and I don't really care. I'm not going to be nice here. You tried to destroy a man's life. You got called out, rightfully so. And the 5 people on Twitter who have alt accounts who try to push that you're innocent or whatever don't know what they're talking about. And quite frankly, I'm not going to wish you well or anything like that. I will say that I hope whatever happens to you, that your daughter gets taken good care of, because nobody deserves to have, bad parenting.
No.
But otherwise, good riddance.
Indeed.
Stay away longer if you have to, because I'm not going to say wish you well or whatever, because you don't care. If you had just come out and been honest or whatever, you might have actually been okay. But you thought you were going to get away with all this, and you never did. So goodbye, good riddance, bye Felicia, let the door hit you really hard on the way out, and maybe if it hits you hard enough, you can just claim you got stepped on a bee or something.
And don't come back, please.
Buzz off.
Bye! Moving on. And next up, we have Ezra Miller.
I have risen for money. The Flash production designer, Paul Asterberry, isn't worried Ezra Miller's history will derail the movie and claims that, quote, people will forget.
Nope.
No.
No.
No one's gonna forget. Okay?
There is too much evidence.
You condemned somebody by the name of JD. You condemned him with allegations. This is not allegations. We have evidence. Now, some people have made claims and tried to debunk said evidence and whatever. Regardless, the public image for Ezra is not good.
Nope.
Stop pretending that it is, because it's not. Now, could the movie be good? Yes.
The trailer definitely looks decent.
Could the movie make money?
Probably.
Do I think that Ezra Miller is a direction that you should be hinging on or be focusing on? No. You should be focusing on Michael Keaton Batman and only Michael Keaton Batman.
Seriously, milk the cameo of Michael Keaton's Batman, because that's what people are going to be coming to see, not Ezra Miller.
Yes, nobody's coming to see Ezra Miller. They're coming to see The Flash, maybe. But Ezra Miller may do a great performance, and if that's so, that's great. But that doesn't mean that we have to forget. It means that there might be some people who go watch the movie or find it online by sailing the high seas. But you're not going to get as many, and that's just the facts. Because the more you try to push this narrative that everything's fine and it's not a problem, the more people are going to look at you and go, do you think we're stupid?
Yeah, they do.
We're not stupid.
Nope.
We know what he's done, and yes, I am using he because it is known that Ezra Miller does not use they/them pronouns on his own and doesn't respect other people's pronouns, and so therefore I'm not going to respect his, especially when he's done terrible things.
Indeed.
If that upsets you, I'm sorry. Be offended.
Cry more. He. No?
That was pretty good.
Actually, it was? Really?
Yeah.
Woohoo!
But I'm not going to see this, even for Michael Keaton Batman. I just think that them pushing Ezra and saying, everything will be fine, it's like, no. Come out in front of it and say, yes, we know that Ezra is in this. We know it's a bad thing. We're not going forward with him going forward. We made the movie already. We just need to put it out there. Please try and give it a chance. We think you'll really like it. And guess what? You would have gotten more people in.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of comment, not helping.
Not at all.
Paul Asterberry, you should probably keep your mouth shut because I guarantee you just lost whatever tickets you were going to get. Half of them are gone now because of that statement.
At least half.
If you're lucky.
Indeed.
And trust me, you already had half of what you were going to get.
So now you're going to get a quarter of what you were going to get. Probably.
So, again, I do think that this movie will break even. I do think it will. And because they put a lot of money in it. But they're going to do whatever they can to make it break even. But I don't think it will make much of a profit.
On that, I can agree. Moving on. And finally, we have Star Wars.
Star Wars, the unholy trinity.
Dun, dun, dun!
Star Wars director Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy recently provided some details about her upcoming film and how she believes it is part of a movement of women, quote, to move forward in places previously closed to them, end quote.
Sigh.
Hate to break it to you, Star Wars has had women in it for ages.
Uh-huh.
The fact that you don't want to recognize them is your problem.
Mm-hmm.
Let's list some.
Princess Leia, Padme Amidala, Ahsoka, the Queen of Naboo, Shakti, Master Luminara, Barriss, Offee, who was the Twi'lek Jedi? I'm not saying Rey. Don't count her.
Well, Rey is if you're going to count, say, in Star Wars, she is a female who was in it.
I suppose so, but she's hardly a character.
Yes, but the point I'm making is she's saying, oh, women haven't been in this. What are you talking about?
Seriously, what are you talking about? You've clearly never seen a Star Wars movie.
You shouldn't be in charge here because, look, you've barely done any work on anything, and most of what you're known for is making documentaries on your activism.
That's not a good sign.
And that's what we're going to put in front of this Star Wars project. No. And you can focus on Rey or whatever it is you were trying to do. I think this is going to be garbage.
I completely agree on that.
Double down, triple down, do whatever you want, but when you make statements like this, even people who were liked Rey or whatever, look at this statement and go, what the heck are you talking about?
Indeed.
So the audience that was going to show up, which to be fair, seems bigger than it is on Twitter, but trust me, it's much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
That audience, you cut that audience in half, because when you make stupid, ignorant statements like this, what it tells them is not that you hate Star Wars, it tells them that you don't know about Star Wars. And if you don't know about Star Wars, then you're not suited to lead the project.
What he said.
It's not difficult to hire people who actually care about what they're writing and the universes that they're been given.
Yes, like I've said before, I don't understand why they keep hiring people who care nothing for the IPs. Hire me. I will do a much better job.
Maybe so, but I think the reason they do it is because they don't view it as a franchise. They view it as a platform for them to use to push whatever messages they want to push, and it just happens to have an audience. But the problem is, when you make something that's not like the original material, or not in the same vein, people notice, and people will tune out. So your message doesn't go, not only does it not get heard, it never gets heard.
Yep.
And continue down this road all you want, but Star Wars has become this Disney Plus exclusive content for shows that are mediocre at best.
To quote Yoda, that is why you fail.
Correct, and you'll continue to do so until you hire competent writers, but the day you do that, who knows, maybe AI will do better.
It already has, actually. It rewrote the sequel trilogy.
Maybe, but regardless, this is going to be a train wreck, and we'll be here for it to laugh, because we're not going to see it, sorry.
No, we are not.
Maybe we'll be surprised, but I don't think so.
I doubt it too. Moving on. And with that being our last client of the day, it is time for us to reveal the diagnosis of the week.
And we got an interesting diagnosis for you today.
Do tell.
So the diagnosis for this week is depersonalization disorder.
Please explain.
So depersonalization disorder involves kind of being detached from one's body or mental processes. So in other words, you're kind of floating outside yourself and observing yourself doing things. So it's almost like going through the motions, but it's like it's almost like kind of coming out of your body. It's not like an astral projection or stuff like that. It's being like really disconnected from yourself. And I think that we see this in two ways. One is that we're gonna get AI to write stuff, which they are definitely disconnected from the soul of a person. And we also have these soulless projects and soulless things where these people are floating outside of their bodies. They're just going through the motions, doing all this kind of stuff, and they're observing what they're doing, but not actually caring. So they're pushing their messages, pushing their nonsense, and they're disconnected from themselves. And so we see this a lot in Hollywood. They just float around everywhere, and we get these products that are soulless hunks of garbage that are just shoehorned together with a bunch of messaging stitching. And so, yeah, that's why I feel this is a great diagnosis for this week.
I agree.
And now we move on to the remedy of the week.
And this week, we are sending you to Salty Nerd Podcast, who we had the opportunity to meet in Las Vegas, however briefly. They talk about a bunch of different stuff, and unfortunately, earlier today, their studio got robbed. And they were not able to get insurance in time, and a lot of money's worth in equipment got robbed.
Yeah, so Salty Nerd Podcast has been a good people in the community for quite some time. I've known of them, and we got a chance to meet them in Las Vegas. But they had a studio open that they had finally just gotten going. They got money together and they invested in it, and it wasn't just going to be for them. It was going to be for multiple people who wanted to use it, and they even did let people use it, like Friday Night Tights and other people as well. They were trying to get insurance for their stuff, but they didn't do it quick enough. And somebody broke in. They obviously knew what they were after and broke in and stole a lot of equipment. And they're devastated, but they're pushing on. And Raven and I have already donated what we could, but we've included their YouTube channel, so you should go check them out because they make some great content.
Mm-hmm.
And we've included their GoFundMe. I understand times are tough and money is really tight. We get it. We're not telling you must. But these are some of the best people in the community, some of the nicest people in the community, and they did not deserve this. And so it doesn't matter how much you can give, even if you just share out the GoFundMe, you never know how powerful you can be. And we are more powerful when we work as a community that, as a whole, we can do great things. So please consider sharing it or giving some money if you can. Help them out. You will not be disappointed. And check out their content, please.
Indeed. Grab your jar of corks, head on over there, and let them know that Gothic Therapy referred you.
Indeed. Well, they did tell us that the cork jar got broken, but that's a whole other story.
Revive the jar of corks!
But yeah, that's all we have for this week. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and also make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe with notifications on so you do not miss your weekly therapy session.
Or you will be charged. But remember, when you do subscribe, your first session is free, so smash those buttons like they're bad kitties! And do consider joining us at the Dusk, Midnight, or Dawn level. We would appreciate it quite a lot. You can also find links to all of our socials in the description below, as well as links to our merch store and our Discord server known as The Clinic. Be sure to check them out. And if you don't want to stick with us here on YouTube, you can also find us on Rumble and Odyssey.
But yeah, please go check those guys out. We really would appreciate it. And stay tuned. We are actually launching a live show sometime next week, so stay tuned for that. It'll be a bi-weekly show. And yeah, but that's all we have for this week, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Gothic Therapy, out.